Do you believe that taste is as evocative as music and art?
Food has reached another level. It's about, look at chefs, it's about presentation, it's about provenance of ingredients. Definitely is creative.
When did the love affair with food begin?
Where our eyes are telling us, oh, that was really good.
I think they all amount to that expansion in one's personality.
They loved European foods.
Just living a full life where different experiences.
In Bombay, I think, was the turning point. Grand Cheese Bazaar, then I was offered a lot of very interesting consultancies. I started working for Britannia, and a lot of it was about Indian food, so I had to do a lot of research, but I don't think it's there yet.
This is as far as I'll go.
And it was about food and travel because I was traveling a lot. LUX stands for Labour Under Correct Knowledge. If you're the type of person that sees the glass half full, not half empty, I think you attract people towards you.
What is right at that point?
And you have to take risks. You know, a lot of things I've done professionally have been risky.
You had to get really tough.
That was the shock. God, when are they going to finish with all this nonsense? Maybe it was correct, maybe it wasn't. I had huge support and I carried on. That was a time when I got a lot of very interesting work. Do I want to do that? Learn to say no. And success is not measured by how much money you make.
You've set up a huge goal.
I only work for myself, my own brand, because it's a company now. I may have even done that because I love the idea of researching.
I know who I am. I know what I was meant to do. I have done what I was meant to do.
Also, to have the genuine ingredient, authenticity is very important. Success is really about where you are in your life. And if you are doing as much as you can within the circle that you create, I think you're fine.
My guest today is Karen Anand, award-winning food guru, TV host, author, and the woman who redefined gourmet culture in India. Over a 3-decade career, she's introduced artisanal produce to Indian kitchens, built one of the country's most loved farmers' markets, and written best-selling books on food and travel, honored by the French government with a prestigious award. Karen has been a bridge between culinary traditions, blending heritage with innovation. Today we talk about her creative journey, the debates that shape the food world, and why she believes taste can be as evocative as music or art. Welcome to the Creativity Dialogues, Karen.
Thank you so much
Such
for
a
having me.
pleasure to
Thank
have you. On the Creativity Dialogues, we try to explore the various creative facets of all our guest personalities, and you are so multifaceted. I think the best place to begin would have to be to talk about taste. And so, do you believe that taste is as evocative as music and art?
Oh, for sure, if not more, I think, because taste covers things that you have to do, like you have to eat, as well as now, you know, food has reached another level. So it's about, look at chefs, it's about presentation, it's about provenance of ingredients. It definitely is creative, whether you're a chef or not. People take so much interest in what they serve in festivals. It's gone beyond tradition. So for me, for sure, it's very creative.
And I think that it's so multidimensional because taste by itself, brings, there's flavors, there's the whole experience. And then I think that even the visual delight is, so they're just at many levels. The sensations really make taste, as you said, stand up in a category beyond
Well, to give you a little story, Chandana, when I was at university in England and I was academically quite good, and I was looking at living in Paris and working. I had a job set up and everything in the media. And then I came back to India on holiday and I met a gentleman and I fell in love with him and I stayed. My mother was devastated because, as Indian parents, they moved from India, where they had quite a nice life, to give their children an opportunity of something better, as a lot of people do. And then when I came back here, she was a bit horrified that, why was I not going to Paris and why was I not doing that? And she was very upset when I went into food because she said, "What is this? Cook and all this." And then she came. I had a catering company for a
And
while.
that's why, Karen, I was going to just get into the question and
Mm.
ask you that when did the love affair with food begin?
I don't think it was a love affair. Do you know the Jewish princess joke?
Oh,
Okay, so the joke is what? Well, you know the whole New York Jewish princess thing. What does a
yeah, but
Jewish
tell the audience,
tell the
Clara,
audience what it
yeah,
is?
so that we won't leave anyone
Well,
out.
I think if you've watched Mrs. Maisel, she's a Jewish princess. It's the group of young Jewish women who lived in New York and who were quite privileged, and they always had help and so on and so forth. So the joke is, what does a Jewish princess do when she's hungry? And the answer is she makes a reservation. So that was the extent of my
Yeah,
food knowledge.
yeah,
I was interested, but it was certainly wasn't a passion. And then I think when I moved, this carries on from your creativity story. When I moved to Paris, I did my gap year in Paris, and I lived with a family for whom food was, well, not just one family, but generally the French are very, very particular about their food. And this family were very particular about their food, and they spent a lot of time. I wouldn't say on a meal because every French person sits for at least an hour and a
yeah,
half,
yeah.
but certainly on what was being served and the quality of what was being served. Why did you get it from the supermarket and not from the butcher? Why did you get this cheese from an ordinary shop and not from the cheese person who comes from Normandy at the market? You
Karen,
know.
I'm going a little
Mm,
off topic here, but considering they have so much of interest in food,
mm.
and it's like it seems like a connoisseur's delight, how do they stay so thin and
They don't
slim?
eat too much of it.
Mm,
That's the French paradox. There is a book called The French Paradox.
yes,
Two things. One I've noticed about women when I used to sit in cafes, they are the French women are not beautiful, but they're very chic,
yes,
and they do their makeup beautifully.
yeah.
They don't like to upset their lipstick, so they eat like this.
Ah,
So when you eat
really?
like this, you eat little.
Yes.
Secondly, if you notice, they might order a croissant, they might not finish it.
Mm,
They always start a meal with a big salad. So you filled yourself with a big. Now this is tradition. So when it's tradition, everybody follows
yeah,
it.
yeah,
You know, I mean, it's not some. They don't think about health. That's what they do.
yeah.
Then they have a small amount. This is a Mediterranean diet. They have a small amount of protein, maybe some vegetables, um, a bit of cheese afterwards. Not necessarily dessert. There's no French fries. Sometimes there is,
Yeah,
puree, mashed potato, or puree of potato, or a puree of a
yeah,
vegetable.
yeah.
Everything is eaten in small
In small portion
quantities.
sizes, yeah.
Yes.
I think that's where we go wrong. Like
Yes.
when you said a croissant, I was just thinking, I won't leave a crumb. Try to
Well, I
dig
remember
in and
I
lick
was
the
I
last
was
piece.
listening to Oprah once.
Yeah.
I'd sometimes do it.
Hmm.
She's quite funny, and she said she went to Paris. That was a time when she wasn't, I think, let into Louis Vuitton or something. Something happened.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Anyway,
was a
and she said she went on this. She was on this diet, and so she didn't. She saw the croissant every morning at breakfast table, and she didn't touch it. And then she said the day before she left, she had three. So, that's what
yeah,
you shouldn't do.
that's yeah,
So
yeah,
take it, eat a little one, eat half, and leave it.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's discipline.
And it's discipline. And one observation has been that when you do that, you enjoy those few bites so much more than when you eat three or five of them. It's I
You have to
that's
teach
a you
yourself
have to teach
because
yourself that.
what do we do? When we eat, we often take a second helping. Why? We're not really hungry.
Yeah, yeah,
Our eyes are telling us, oh, that was really good.
yeah.
Let me take a second helping.
You
But
want to continue
you
that
want,
that that
but
delightful
you don't need
experience,
it.
although you're actually full
Full.
and probably going to soon be uncomfortable by
Exactly.
eating, but
But that's
still.
discipline,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
mind. But in terms of, you're talking about taste in terms of
yeah,
creativity,
yeah.
that's when I probably realized when I was 18 or 19 that there's much more to food
Mm,
than just
mm,
what I was brought up on or what I saw around me. Because Britain is not the pinnacle. Now, of course, it's
yeah,
got many, many
yeah.
restaurants. But British food
By itself,
by
it's not.
itself is
Yeah.
no great deal. They do a decent breakfast and a decent afternoon tea,
Mm-hmm.
but that's it.
Yeah.
They don't do anything in between,
Yeah.
really. And my mother was not somebody who loved to cook. She would cook because she had to cook, and
Mm. So
she
you
never had
didn't
to cook
really have
here.
a background in
No,
cooking.
not at all. I believe my grandmothers, both of them, were quite good cooks, but they were both in India, and I didn't see them very often.
So I'm just trying to think that
But
did you
Paris
earlier
really,
on know, did you earlier on feel
no,
that cooking was going to be your
no,
thing? No. So,
not at all.
so
Not at all. But that's okay. I have a lot of friends who are in international organizations who are doctors and teachers,
yeah.
and they may have a passion for cooking. I didn't have that at all.
So as a young person, what was your dream when you were really young? Was there something that what you would be
No, there was
doing
no
with your
dream,
life
Chandana.
or
I thought because of my interests, I would work for either something to do with the media. I interned with Elle magazine because the people I lived with, he was actually the editor
was this in India or in
in
England?
Paris.
In Paris.
He was the editor of Elle France. And so he got me an internship, which was great. And I worked on the cookery pages because they have cookery pages
Yeah.
in Elle in France. And it was great. So I thought I would do that, or I would do a job with the UN because I did international relations.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trained to do. And I was very keen. So I had a job already set up on a magazine that I was going to join
So
in
was your
83.
academic education in sort of
In the
United
UK, yes. And then I did a master's in Paris for a year.
Did
Um,
you go to culinary school at all?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at
So
all.
are you completely self-taught?
More or less. What I used to do is when I felt I needed to learn something, I went and spent a few weeks at a friend's restaurant in Paris.
Uh-huh.
Um, I went and spent a few weeks with a friend in Bangkok who had a great cook. I did that kind of thing, but I had no culinary school background at all.
Was that by choice that you
Yes.
felt that you didn't really need to go
Well,
to
I didn't know I was going to get into food.
so it was so sort of organic or natural. So
Yeah,
there was no plan with this.
not at all. And then um, I spent my third year at university also in France. And then again, more academics and, learned more about food and stuff, but not at all on the horizon at all. And there was a fantastic nanny in the family, the same, the family I stayed with. There was a fantastic nanny who came from Lyon, and they're known for producing great food. All the big chefs used to come from there. And so it was just a passion. When I came back to India, I found a big lack in European food, which of
Yeah.
course, I loved my Indian food, but I wanted to eat European
Mhm.
food because that's what I'd been more or less brought up on,
Yeah.
living there for, since the age of 6. And I kind of missed it. So
Yeah.
I
So
kind of
Karen, I'm gonna
recreated. Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your childhood. How was your childhood?
Well, my parents left India, as I said, for to give. They had a very nice life here, but they left. I think being a minority community, I
Yeah.
think the Christian community was minority. I think my father was very excited about post-independence, and I think that excitement didn't come through later. I think a lot of the Christian communities, other communities, felt marginalized,
Mhm.
and so a lot of the Christian communities left. They left for Australia, they left for Canada, and they left for the UK and Portugal.
Mhm.
So my parents were actually going to Canada, and they stopped in the UK on the way. They stopped in London, where his brother, who was worked for Lintas, was being posted, and my grandmother, I think, was there for a bit, and they just stopped to see her, and then we carried on.
Wow.
So I don't know quite why, because I was too young. I don't know quite why we didn't go to Canada,
So they
but we
too
stayed
were
on.
pretty spontaneous.
I think so. I think it was very brave.
Yes.
They had a few friends. They had relatives, of course, because the Indian communities in the 60s were already
Mm.
quite established. And there was quite a big Goan community and so on. But it's still, I think it was a very brave decision with 2 young children to leave something that was, it wasn't like they were boat people and they had nowhere
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
They had a very comfortable life in Bombay. You know, my
Did you
father was a
at all
professional.
I mean, you were very young. Do you have any
Memories?
adjustment stuff that, when you move? Because I grew up in Africa
Right.
and, you always feel the difference because we do visit India on holidays. And so culturally, you feel that
Mm.
separation. Do you
You
have
see,
any
with the Christian
memories of
community,
that?
it's slightly different because um, already we all speak English.
Yes.
Already there are
Yeah.
many cultural similarities. I think if you're a different religion or whatever, we all went
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
church and all of that kind of thing.
So you kind of
So
just
yeah,
slipped
but
in
there
and
were problems in school because obviously we were Indian, we had
yeah.
Indian food.
Yeah.
So if my mother would give me puri bhaji or
Yeah.
something in the tiffin,
Yeah.
I would
You'd
get
feel singled out
oh,
and
yes,
yeah.
completely. Oh,
Yeah.
what is that? It's Indian.
Yeah.
I mean, there were like, I think when I joined my senior school, there were two or maybe three South Asians. I was the only Indian.
Yeah.
There was a girl from East Africa,
Yeah.
and there was a girl from Sri Lanka later, and that was it.
Yeah.
It was a small independent girls' school. There were 350 pupils, of which there were three non-British.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
you
So I know,
assimilate.
this food thing, it's interesting because I had a similar experience. I packed food for my kids in the US. And I remember when my son was very little, he was going to play school, and I would pack dal for him.
Mm.
And he'd come back and I'd say, Zev, did you eat your dal? So he would say, no.
No,
And I'd say, why? It's empty. He said, no, I had soup. So, because people, when they would open the
but it's just
tupper
the
for
opposite
him,
now
it's,
because when I
yeah.
sent my
Yeah,
my
now
children
times
some
have
really
changed.
interesting sandwiches, which I'd spent hours trying to think of different things that they would like. And after many years, my younger son Sasha, both of them are into food, but the younger one said to me, he's got a friend who is rather plump and who's half Spanish and used to love Sasha's dabba coming.
Yeah, yeah,
And after many years, they told me that he used to buy Sasha's dabba.
really.
Mm.
Yeah,
And Sasha would get a vada pav from the school because he preferred the vada pav.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yes, yes.
I think things have changed now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People
No,
would
and
probably love the Indian
no,
dabba.
they do actually. The point I was saying was that they didn't call it dal. They called it soup
Lentils
because for
also.
them it
Ah,
was just a soup. And so
sure.
it took me a while to kind of realize that he was calling the
Dal soup.
same dal soup. So these are
Of
some of the
course, of
things that
course.
happen.
But I didn't have any other problems in school. I
Right.
say English wasn't a problem and
Uh-huh.
so on.
Uh-huh.
And also, all three of us who came from South Asia all did quite well. And I think, it was a convent. And when you do academically well
Yeah.
and your principal sees that, then
Yeah.
other things sort
They
of,
accommodate a lot of things. Uh, how did you even think of coming back? Because, once you sort of settle into a life abroad, that becomes, your world. It becomes the place, you kind of just think that this is how it's going to be.
oh, well, I didn't. As I said, it was,
You
I thought I was going to live in Paris. Wasn't so keen on living in England.
but you grew up where?
I grew up in the UK. I grew up in
But where?
London.
In London.
Yes.
And so from London you went to Paris.
Yes, that was easy. That was an
Yeah,
easy
but still,
transition.
how did you manage language-wise?
I spoke French.
Ooh,
Yeah, I was learning French from the age of 12. And then when I was 18, I went to live there for a year. After that year, living with the family and studying, I was at the Sorbonne and I looked after their little kid and all that. After that, I was more or less bilingual. At
so that
19, I was
wasn't a
bilingual.
problem.
No,
Yeah,
no, not at all. And so I loved it. I thought Paris was the center of the universe in terms of,
yeah,
as you say, creativity, taste.
yes.
I,
We've
uh,
heard so
I
much about
got so
so
much.
many
I did a lot,
stories.
and I was
Yeah,
living very centrally on the left bank with a family. So, of course, I was speaking French all the time, got used to lots of things. Um, I have an interest in art. So, of course, that was wonderful. I would see art galleries
yeah,
all around
yeah,
me.
yeah.
I was on Rue de Rennes, Saint-Germain-des-Prés. So, I would go to art galleries every weekend. I started painting again because I used to at school. So yeah, it was
So before
ideal.
we move from France, do you still have the French connection?
I don't
in any
have.
which way?
Yeah, well,
Because
I
I
do
do know
visit.
you've won this big award,
Yes,
French show.
yes, yes,
So can you
I
tell us a
have.
little bit about that?
Well, I've won two awards out of France. I'm not quite sure how and why, but I won an award from um, um, a French Food and Wine Award from the government of
Oh,
France, and that was in 2006, long time ago. I didn't realize how big it was. I thought, well, some award, you know. And somebody from one of the bodies here,
uh-huh,
French bodies, had obviously recommended my name.
uh-huh,
It was called, I can't remember what was exactly the name of the award, but anyway, it was for promoting French food and wine abroad. And
mhm,
I won it for culture. Somebody else won it for business, and somebody else won it for the
uh-huh.
third thing, whatever it was. And then it was, you went to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which was this Quai d'Orsay, which is this fantastic place, 17th century gilded mirrors, like going to Versailles. And thank God I wore something decent. And I invited a few friends of mine, and we were allowed to invite four or
Yeah.
six people.
Hmm.
And before me, the year before, Meryl Streep won it for Julie and
Oh,
Julia. Yeah, it was a big award,
it
but I
was a
didn't
big, oh,
realize.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she won it for Julie and Julia, whatever that movie was,
Yes.
where she played Julia
Yeah.
Childs. And then there was another very interesting author, British author, that won it after. And so, yeah, it was quite a prestigious award.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was great. And then I won the French Travel Writing Award a few years ago, 2 years ago. That was from India. From the French ambassador
Hmm.
gives a travel writing award, and because I'd written on France such a lot, in fact, I am planning a book
So one other
on
thing,
French
Karen,
food.
um, were you always into writing as well?
Yes,
So,
writing
so
was
from
my
your
first
early,
love.
it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
your first love.
yeah. Writing has been. I wrote diaries. I wrote things from very
And so
early.
would you write on various topics at that
When
point?
I first came back to India, yes, because I didn't have an interest in food.
Yeah.
And my husband then was in the film industry.
Hmm.
And so we used to travel a lot. So I met
So you
people
moved
from,
back because you got married.
yes, and I met him here.
Oh,
Yeah, so I didn't go back again.
I see.
But I met people from Variety magazine and
Hmm.
Screen Guilds magazine
Hmm.
abroad because he did a lot of export of films. And so I used to meet a lot of the foreign journalists, and they said, would you be interested in writing for us? So I wrote for Variety, and I wrote for another one called Screen something uh, on on film. So when there were film festivals, I could go with him
Ah,
legitimately and
yeah,
write.
yeah.
I did that for a couple of years, and then I had this wonderful editor. I think it was Indian Express or the Times, Dina Vakil. She was lovely, and she said, "Are you into writing on film?" I said, "Not really. I came here to the Film Institute in Pune, and I did a 6-week course just to be able to
On film
understand."
appreciation. Yeah, they
Yes,
have a
yes,
great course
yes,
at
it
the
was.
FTI on
Yes,
film appreciation.
absolutely. So I did that for about, I think it was
And
six
that's
weeks.
that's actually really impressive because we normally just look at cinema from did I have fun, did I enjoy the
Correct.
movie, and we miss all those
Oh, it's a very
details.
good
So
course, and it's six
what
weeks.
I think is whether knowingly or unknowingly, it sounds like you were kind of developing yourself in different
Well,
ways
sure, I was
because
23,
yeah,
you
so I
know.
feel all these different things that you did, I think they all amount to that expansion in one's personality. Because
Of
from a
course.
creativity point of view, I feel a lot of people just sometimes lock themselves in one direction. And
Yes.
thereby they're unable to sort of evolve, expand. And for that you have to be open to all these different
Yeah. Yeah. And
experiences.
learning and continually
Learning,
learning.
actually just continuously
Yeah.
learning.
So I did that for a bit with Dina, and I did a column for her. And of course, I had lots of doors open because of his connections.
Correct.
So I went to a lot of film previews and so on. And then after about a couple of years, I said,
But you
no,
never thought of sort of exploring acting or something in
no,
cinema?
I
He
think it
was not.
was no, I think it was suggested, and he said no, and I was not. I did act a little bit in school. I did theatre, but very, very
Uh-huh.
humble kind of little.
Yeah, yeah.
No, no, I think he wouldn't have liked it as
Uh,
well. I
uh-huh.
realized that a lot later.
Yeah,
And one day I was talking with my editor, and I said, I'm doing this film lark, but my heart's not in it. I'm
yeah.
understanding, I'm learning, but it's not really my milieu, and I'm not terribly happy with going to Bollywoody kind of
Yeah,
things and
yeah.
so art films, yes, but I don't know enough. I said I don't know how films are
So how
made.
did this kind of
So she said
clarity
to me, "Why
come?
don't you write on food? Food is now becoming very big, and you write well, and you know more than a lot of people. You've lived in Paris, you've lived in London, you travel a lot with your husband. We used to go to China very often. We used to travel to Europe, less to America. So I traveled quite a lot with him and his business. So why don't you write on food when you travel and do
Yeah.
a travel and food column?" Which I did, and that's how it started. And then I did a food column for Debonair
So you just started with
with
writing
writing.
about food.
Yes, absolutely. So I started with writing.
At that time, did you also start cooking on this
Yeah,
side
yeah, I
or
did
a
a
little
lot of
bit
cooking.
yeah.
I did a lot of cooking because he used to love me to do European food and
Uh-huh.
entertain for his guests, and they loved European food because it wasn't really available.
Yeah.
If you remember, this was the late 80s, mid 80s,
Yeah.
late
Uh-huh.
80s, when there was nothing
Yeah.
European
Yeah.
available
Yeah.
outside of five star, and even the five
Yeah.
star offering was quite limited.
Limited. Yeah.
um, Mushrooms, if you remember, we used to get mushrooms in Bombay, forget Pune, in two places, in Cafe
Yeah.
Galleries at
Yeah.
Breach Candy and some shop in Colaba.
Absolutely. I mean,
So things
yes,
have come a
yes,
long
things have
way.
come a long way. Yeah.
And we used to get cheese from ship chandlers. There was no import in those days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I created a quiche, it was a big wow wow. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
simple things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in a way, that was really good because I found where vendors were and how I could reinvent the wheel in a way.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people loved it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even if you could get mushrooms or this or that,
Yeah.
whatever, people didn't really know how to serve it.
Yes.
So it started from that,
Mhm.
um,
And
and and then we and then I did professionally. I got quite involved with the sannyasis from Osho ashram,
yes.
and
So were
um,
you a follower or
I was a follower, but not a sannyasi. I used to
yeah.
go there to
Yeah.
to do dynamic meditation and all that. And a
Did
lot
you
of my
meet
friends,
Osho?
not personally, but I listened to him a couple of years. And I think he died about, I don't remember,
I think he by
85,
late, no, I think just a little before 90.
90.
Yeah,
Sorry,
a little.
because I
I
moved to
think
Pune
maybe
in 80.
89, either
Correct.
89 or,
I moved to
yeah,
Pune in 88.
maybe 89
Yes,
when
you're
was
right.
when he passed. Yeah,
And we'd moved to Pune by then. I still have the apartment in Bombay, but I used to go up and down
right.
because I had children by then and I didn't want to live in
Yeah, yeah,
Bombay.
yeah.
And so I used to go quite often. I used to entertain them at home, and they loved. And I used to do a lot of salads, and they loved all of that. And and then one of these lunches or dinners, he invited some GM of a little hotel, who said, "Oh, well, why don't you do a salad bar? There are all these sannyasis. That time the ashram was full.
Yes, yes.
Do a salad bar for me at the weekend." Now, I had no knowledge. I some recipes, but I absolutely no knowledge of how to do it for more than 20 people.
So was this in the late 80s that you started
Yes,
doing?
I think around
Because
89,
I
88,
remember that
89.
in 90 or was it 91, it was the music directors Kalyanji Bhai Anandji,
Right.
with whom I was their prodigy, a
Mm,
protege in a way, and with Sadhna Sargam, Sonali Vajpayee,
yes.
and he had taken me to the ashram, all of us actually, for a concert show, and then we'd stayed there, and there was this really delicious, unique type of food
Mm,
which was being served there,
ah,
which was very unlike anything that
yes.
I'd eaten in Pune, Mumbai for that
Right.
matter. And so,
Yeah, yeah,
so
they
I
were
have a
quite
sense of,
forerunners.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so that's why I have a sense of what you're saying, that this type of food was indeed very, very unique in those days.
Yes. And then we used to go quite often to a restaurant in Bombay called China Garden. There was a Kemp's Corner very near where we lived, and he would do a lot of entertaining there.
Yeah.
And the owner there, Nelson Wang, came to me one day and he said, "Oh, I heard you've started this salad bar." I think that was probably the turning point professionally. So by then, I did it in Pune, made all the mistakes here, got to learn a little bit about how to do the back end. In Pune, as I said, I knew how to do things for 20 people, not for 200. And
Yeah.
we had like 200 people the first day. So it was a bit crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't imagine it. And so I was very lucky. It was a success from day one because there was nothing like it. And then I got a lot of publicity. again, no one had PR agents, nothing. But right time, right place. I was a young woman doing something different, so I was in the front of magazines and cover of magazines. People would
So
call
this
up.
is after you moved to Pune.
Yes, yes. When I started the salad bar from with the weekend salad bar, mainly catering to people from the ashram. Then I went to Bombay, and Nelson offered me the same opportunity, but he said I can't have it only at the weekend. I have to have it during the week. So again, I didn't know the back end and how to preserve things, and so what I
Yeah.
didn't use, I would chuck out. Very hard work, but it was that was the turning point. Bombay, I think, was the turning point, and I used to have Parmeshwar Godrej and Sunita Pitambar. They were doing his
All of
interiors
the
for
big
the Chinese
socialites and yeah.
restaurant upstairs. This was what was it called? The piano bar
Yes, the piano
downstairs.
bar is
Yes, so that's where I did the salad bar because he had ostensibly it was a women's club. That was just a hook. And of course, the Wadias used to come often, and lots of
yeah.
people. It was quite the place to be. And so what he said is he was quite a wily businessman, and he said, the place is completely empty for lunch.
Yeah.
So why don't you create a lunch something here,
Yeah.
i.e. the salad bar, so that people can, a lot of women can come, and it also, since it's a member club, it's something else I'm offering my members.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a success. It was a super hit from day one. I was a super hit. It was great. Huge turning point in my career for sure. And then
So was this the point that you would say you started to become more certain that food was going to be
yeah,
your
yeah. I
kind
mean,
of
I had
thing?
no time to think.
Yeah.
I was just
You
busy
just dived
I
into
just
it.
dived into it.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, I found where to buy fish, where to buy dough. I mean, I
Yeah,
had
I'm
to,
sure that there's so much of all this kind of details that
lots of things.
where do you get your ingredients and what
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of
Now, of course, I have,
yeah,
but
yeah,
in those days, yeah, I had to learn.
yeah.
And then I made a lot of the things myself because we couldn't buy them.
Yeah, yeah. And
Um,
then another interesting thing that you said is about the storing of this stuff. All the things that we just take for granted
mm.
because as normal people, I mean, we just think about getting a little bit of a few ingredients and then what are leftovers, we just
Well, this
store
was
them.
you remember Chinese, we had
Yeah,
China
yeah.
garden at the top. So there was a big kitchen, but I was in a kind of makeshift place.
Uh-huh.
But it was a crazy cowboy days, And I did that for about a year. And then I had already just had my second child, and he was 6 months old.
So you
And
were
I
actually
couldn't do
attending
it.
to people.
And I
Yeah,
just couldn't do
yeah,
it
yeah,
because he was in Pune,
yeah,
and it was where is mummy kind of thing,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it didn't work.
yeah,
So I did it for about, because it was every day,
yeah,
and I used to go back on a Sunday night or
yeah,
on a Monday and have Tuesday with them. It didn't work, and those are the days where we didn't have the expressway,
yeah,
and it would take four and a
yeah.
half hours to travel back to Pune. We had an apartment in Bombay, very near the restaurant, but it just didn't make sense. So what I did was I left Nelson, and he never did it again after that. And we had an office quite nearby, and I opened a little cheese shop in Delhi.
In
Um,
Delhi?
no, a
A
delicatessen
Yeah.
and
Okay.
cheese shop
In
in the
Pune.
office. No, in the office in Bombay,
I see.
which was very near the piano bar. And I mean, we call that the Grand Cheese Bazaar.
So was that
So
your first endeavor
that was
solo?
the
That
first
was, yeah.
endeavor. So
Yeah.
we did cheese because I knew all the vendors by then. There wasn't so many. And I did my quiches and hams and this things I used to do for the salad bar, but I sold them more or less over a counter.
Did you
And
have this awareness that you were actually like it was a very niche and specialty kind of
oh yes, it was that then. And
an
plus, as I
area?
said,
Yeah.
my husband was in the film industry,
Yeah.
so
So you had
we
that
had people
crowd
coming. We
of,
had,
oh, yeah.
Dimple used to come
Yeah.
often, Simi used to come often.
Yeah.
And to me, I didn't know these people. Remember, I did not
Yes.
grow up here.
Yeah. That
So
wasn't your
they were just
background.
friends,
Yeah.
Anuradha Mahindra used to come off. They were just all
Yeah.
girls,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't really know they were
That
famous
they,
and
yeah.
whatever. I kind of
Yeah.
knew, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hadn't grown up with their cinema.
Uh-huh.
And it was a great time of my life, and I was up there. And I ran the cheese bazaar for quite a long time because I didn't need to be there every day. we had a manager and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
on,
yeah.
and I could be back in Pune. Then I opened a little kitchen in Pune to cater to what I was supplying in Bombay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, you have this kind of like an entrepreneur personality, and also this kind of
Well, I don't have a business
business.
personality for sure. I wish I did. And I wish,
No,
when,
but
but I do have an
but
entrepreneur.
I
Yeah.
would say that even a business, whether you recognize it or not, because this sort of planning, this sort of expanding,
Mm.
and
That's
and
entrepreneur.
attention to
That's
detail.
entrepreneur.
Yeah, yeah,
And attention to detail. Whereas a business person is completely different.
that's true.
They
I
look at
mean,
making, they
yeah,
look at the bottom
then
line
it's
first.
just, yeah, it's the
Yeah.
accounting which
And then they
is,
look at
yeah,
how they
yeah,
can make
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Slightly different.
So there were a lot of parallel things
Mm.
happening at the same time. I mean, that you were actually not parallel, it's probably all linked to that one big whole, but there were these different areas which were
For
coming
example,
together.
I decided that I had to have platters of a certain kind. I couldn't find big 20-inch platters. I went to a shop called Contemporary Arts and Crafts in Bombay, had them made for me.
Really?
Yeah, so, that's the creative part as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I didn't do effete details, but I looked at colors, I looked at form. Um, so that
So
was,
all this was involved in
yes,
for your
yes,
presentation.
yes, yes, absolutely. And then
And
later
did you
on,
always just think of this instinctively, that I need to have everything, like, because I was going to
oh, the
actually
look and feel was
ask
very
you,
important to
yeah,
me. Yeah.
that that in food we take the food quality as being the primary like thing to consider, but I think that the look and presentation just amplifies the whole thing
Well, I
so
used to
much.
hate, for example, when you have an Indian meal, it's so beautifully presented often
Yeah,
because it's on a thali.
yeah.
And a lot of Gujarati thalis, and especially Gujarati thalis, are beautifully presented. They look,
They look
Maharashtrian
very
thalis, the
picturesque.
colors,
Yeah, yeah,
where the salt goes,
yeah.
where the limbu goes,
Nibu goes.
etc.
Yeah, yeah,
When they come to Western, it's somehow they don't know what to do.
yeah,
And the Corningware comes out, and those Borosil glass dishes come
yeah.
out, and everything looks
Yes.
awful.
Uh-huh.
And Indian food, I keep saying, and I will still say, is not the easiest to photograph. A thali is fine because you have all of those
Right,
accompaniments.
right.
But if you just keep, palak paneer in a borosil dish,
Yeah,
it looks terrible.
yeah,
You have
yeah,
to somehow, make it
yeah,
look nice and
yeah,
style it.
yeah,
And so to me, that presentation thing was very important. I think also that's what gave me an edge.
yeah.
I was very clear how I wanted things
So
presented.
did you sort of work towards that? Did you study that? Did you
No, no, I
look,
didn't study it. I
or
just
was it
looked.
just instinct, whatever, like
Well,
just
I
going
traveled
with,
a lot, so I must have,
yeah, yeah.
I must have seen it somewhere.
That's what I feel, that travel, or it's I feel sometimes just living a full life where different experiences, and if
Of
you're
course.
alert and attentive, how you combine these
Yeah,
things,
yeah, of course.
that's what really lets you be creative and
Yeah,
individually find your space.
yeah, absolutely. And even now, when we go abroad, we go to markets, I go to shops, I go to things, with, of course, a little bit of clothes, but really it's more about I will always go into a lifestyle store or go into a
Yeah,
kitchen store,
yeah,
and you're always looking for things that are
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So you have that eye for these different
Yes.
things. And I think what's very commendable and interesting is that you've combined these different interests. And just I think sometimes you're clear on the areas that you like. And so when you're out, you go to those particular places, like you said. It's
Sure.
not just the general shopping of clothes or jewelry, but you go into a lifestyle store.
I mean, we were talking about Uzbekistan earlier,
Yeah,
and so I pick up a lot of ceramics from there
yeah,
because they're just different. If I
yeah,
do Otto Lengi's Levantine table, then I
yeah,
like to serve it the
yeah,
way I think it should be
yeah,
served.
yeah. Awesome. So, so once you started your own individual thing, how did things progress from there?
Oh, that was a turning point. They skyrocketed. So then I had the Grand Cheese Bazaar. Then I was offered a lot of very interesting consultancies. I started working for Britannia and basically do shows for them with a large amount of people throughout India, and we did shows.
When we talk of consultancy,
Mm.
what does food consultancy
Could mean
involve?
many things, but for example, with Britannia, I did shows, and I also um, taught people how to use cheese
Ah,
in various ways because they'd come out with a natural cheese. So, what was the difference between a natural cheddar and a processed cheddar? Because till then, remember, people just had craft cheese
yeah,
or they had
yeah, yeah,
amul.
yeah, yeah.
So, I was brought in to do these big shows because I'd done TV. But then they found that I was actually quite good at developing the recipes for things like cream cheese and
Yeah.
variants. And so I found that side of the business very interesting. And I was obviously reasonably good at it. So I worked with Britannia, I worked with Pepsi on developing products for them, flavor profiling. So there's a
By
technical
Pepsi, do you
side.
mean Pepsi Cola?
Yep.
Oh,
I worked with Pepsi, which was Asia, which is based in Thailand.
so what sort of products
I did
do they?
limbus for them, which was a lemon drink.
Mm.
I did a lassi for them, which never got launched, but limbus was the big one I did. So
Uh-huh.
we had to do a lot of flavor profiling. I worked with Kellogg's to create chivdas, which that also never happened. But
Really?
yeah, so a lot of bigger companies used to call me um, and also you have people working with those who then go to another company. Oh, I remember Karen did it for Kellogg's.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
did a lot of work. I did work for Hindustan Lever, a lot of big corporates. And then people like Vinita Cucina was an Italian kitchen company that was coming into India. They called me to endorse their brand. So it was a roller
So
coaster.
you were doing these things simultaneously. You
Yeah,
always
yeah.
had your own place as well.
Uh, I had the
Or,
cheese bazaar,
yeah.
and that continued. I gave up the salad.
And how about the
Uh,
deli, which you'd
yes,
started?
I
Yeah.
had that continued.
So that stayed
Yeah,
consistent.
yeah. And then um, and then I did TV, and that's when things changed.
So how did TV come on
I
the
met Peter
radar?
Mukherjee, who was head of Star TV at the time, or maybe he was sales and marketing. I can't remember. No, I think he'd just become head of Star TV. And I met him with friends, and he said, "I think you should be on TV." It was as simple as that. And you know your food, and we don't have enough. I think food has been the next big thing. And he um, called a producer and said, I want you to do a TV. It was very easy. I had to do nothing. And I was terrible initially because I couldn't speak to the camera. I wasn't an actress. I knew my stuff, but I didn't. And it was on travel and food. And we didn't have proper scripts and people didn't know what was, it was
Yeah.
again
Yeah.
cowboy time. And I started with a good food guide. Siddharth Kak was the producer and then a very good director, but I was really quite
Yeah.
bad at the beginning because and they kept saying, give
I
her
know
another
there's
go,
so
give her
much
another
like to
go.
face the camera
Yeah, yeah,
and
you have to be an actress. So the first 5 episodes were dreadful. And they kept saying, give her another go, give her another. She's come through, Peter, give her another go. And they did. And I think after about 5 episodes, I was
uh
kind of reasonable. And some of the script, they also didn't know anything about food, so some of the scripts were ludicrous.
I'm
But
sure
I
you
did
had
it.
to improvise a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. And a lot of it was about Indian food, so I had to do a lot of research
yeah,
before.
yeah.
So I did that. Then I did another show called Cook Na Kaho. Then I did a show for CNBC, and then so I did TV for about 7 or 8 years, and then in my 40s it kind of dried up.
Mm.
Then I think you had to be much younger, and also I had a lot of corporate work then, and I sort of said, well, who cares,
But this is so bizarre that why does this sometimes I wonder happen in India?
Mm.
Because you have a Martha Stewart who is in her 80s
That's
and
different because
she,
Martha Stewart owns what she does. She's not doing it for anybody else. She's doing it for herself. But it's the world over. It's not just here. It's I can do things now, like I'm doing this
yeah,
podcast, because it's for us.
yeah,
But TV now anyway is gone. There's
yeah,
OTT
now,
platforms.
yeah, yeah.
But I find it's not just India. It's Joanna Lumley did this show. Um, she did a travel show, and then she did, of course, Ab Fab. Absolutely
Yeah.
fabulous. When you go in your late 40s, 50s, any actress will tell you that.
Oh, for the
To
actresses,
It's
it's,
terrible.
yeah, yeah,
But if you're an older man, your David Attenborough or your
yeah,
gardening
yeah.
specialist, they're okay,
They're okay.
but they don't like women to do it. I mean, Deepthi Naval was in one of my first husband's films.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I met her quite recently, I think last year when I was launching my book in Calcutta. and we were talking about dyeing your hair, and she said, "Oh, I said, yeah, I've let my hair go. That was the
Yeah.
great privilege of COVID." And she said, "I can't."
Yeah.
And she's older than me.
Yeah.
And she said, "I can't
Yeah.
because these producers in Bollywood
Yeah.
will not let me dye my hair.
Yes.
Then I will only get old lady roles."
I think that women deal with so much
It's
more.
a lot of vanity that
There's
you
a
have to
lot.
just, these are stereotypes.
And so, at what point does one say that this is as far as I'll go?
I think if it's your own, and it's apna hai and you're doing it for
Yeah.
yourself, you
Yeah.
can afford to dictate terms.
Yeah.
But if you're working for a
Yeah.
producer or a
You just
director,
have
you
to go
can't.
with
Yes, yes.
yeah.
You have to go with what they expect.
Yeah.
And it's not just here, it's also abroad. And with Joanna Lumley, for example, she was lucky that she got relaunched with this show. But I know her travel thing, she produces.
Yeah.
So, and
I feel there's so many adjustments we have to make. Even it's such a, you explained it very accurately that unfortunately this is the case that men apparently don't age and women do, because that's in terms of opportunities. And sometimes I feel it's strong women like you who also carve the path of sending a message to women that that you don't listen to messages like this, that you
I think we're all
forge your own
trying,
path.
Chandana, we're all trying, but I don't think it's there yet. It's yeah, P.S. Brosnan. Look at him. I
Yeah.
mean, he's got grey hair, he looks
Yeah.
good,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he looks his age,
Yeah.
but that's
And it's
fine.
all good.
It's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Helen Mirren, for example, is great.
Yeah.
And she's,
And there's
but it's a
Michelle,
few.
I think the one who just won the Oscar now, she's in her 60s, early 60s. And yeah, and so things are changing though
They
now.
are.
They are.
Yeah.
And because, now women have realized that you really just have to be brave, courageous, and just, that age is just a number at the end of it.
Age, and it's
And
also body. Now, a lot of younger girls
yeah,
are saying, this body shaming
yeah,
and things, that you don't have to be rake thin
yeah,
to be in Hollywood
yeah,
or Bollywood or
yeah,
what. That still continues. You
yeah,
can't be
yeah,
fat,
yeah,
but you can. This whole thing about being thin,
yeah,
that's getting better.
yeah,
I would say health, because a lot of people who are
yeah,
fat are
yeah,
unhealthy.
yeah,
It's nothing to do with the size,
yeah.
but it's coming. It's coming,
Yeah.
but slowly.
So once you moved to Pune, you had, things started to settle down. How did the other aspects of you start to come? And throughout this, how was the writing? Because I'm very
Oh, the writing
curious
continued.
that,
I did a lot of writing.
right.
I wrote
Have you
for,
written mainly, because you have 20 books?
yes,
That's
this is
massive.
my 20th book,
Yes,
which is
this
Masala
is
Mem Sahib.
congratulations
Thank you.
on Masala Mem Sahib. And, just walk us a little bit through what the
Writing.
writing
I never
journey.
stopped writing. So I used to
And have they
write.
all been cookery books?
Well, this is what's called a culinary memoir. So lots of stories, and it's really it's a COVID book. So I did it at COVID, but a lot of the recipes I've been collecting for 35 years. So when I
And
was
so your
shooting,
recipes
and
there in the
a
book?
lot of recipes are in the book, about 100 recipes, and there are a lot of stories. So it's a fun book. It's a great book for actually people who like. Um, Claudia Rodin and people like that, that sort of bring in a lot of personality and a lot of personal anecdotes. But I talked about Dina Vakil earlier, so I wrote, then I started writing a column for what was then The Independent. I wrote a column called Bon Appetit, I think, and it was about food and travel because I was traveling a lot. And there was sometimes a recipe, sometimes not. I did that, and then Independent closed, and I went to Bombay Times. So the Independent kind of became Bombay Times under Malvika Sangvi, and I started writing for her. And then we decided to change the travel thing a bit because Bombay Times was about Bombay,
Yeah.
and we couldn't do so much travel. And I started writing a column called Men Can Cook about men who cook. And I had various people, people who wrote in and said, I make a great chicken, or I make. So I got them and then I would do something with them, and
Uh-huh.
we would cover this particular recipe, the way it was, their interpretation. So I did that for many years, and we did the Men Can Cook column. Then I wrote that restaurant review thing for Bombay Times. Then I moved to Pune. And when I moved to Pune, then I started doing the Pune Times restaurant reviews. But I started writing for magazines. So I did. I was the food editor of Elle for a couple of years at the beginning. Then again, that was when I was living in Bombay, and this up and down became too much. So I was the first food editor of Elle. It was a great magazine to write for, and I was very familiar with it because I'd interned with them in Paris. And then
So, for
um,
writing, did you take any efforts? Were there any classes?
no,
Did you read
no,
more, or
I
how
was
did you
very good at
find
writing.
your flow in writing?
I did.
You just
I'm,
were
I
you a
think that is,
natural at
I
that?
think that was what I was a natural. I wasn't a natural at cooking. I was a natural at writing. So that was, and a lot of people, yeah, that I enjoyed from day
But
one.
20 books is a lot of work,
Well, a lot
and
of them are, 12 of
consistently.
them are little books, which are sort of like, I would say, supermarket counter books. So that's a series of 12, but we tried every single
But I mean, it's
recipe.
still a massive
Yeah,
number.
yeah, it's a lot, a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
lot of books, but over 35 years, you know. I
yeah.
started my first book, which was commissioned by Penguin, which was a restaurant guide to India. I did that, I think, oh God, it must be 90, 93, 94, something like that. So, yeah,
But
it's been 30
I
years
think
of
you've
writing.
explored so many of the of you know of all the possible aspects I can think of when it comes to food, cooking, and especially for those times.
Yeah,
So I. Would you say that you've also been fortunate in
of
in
course.
all these
But
incredible
you know what luck stands
opportunities?
for? There's somebody told me this, and I thought, that's interesting. She was one of these motivational speakers that actually went to my university, so I went to listen to her.
Uh-huh.
She said, luck stands for labor under correct knowledge.
Yes.
And often it
Yes.
does. It's focus.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of things happen because you're
Yeah.
focused. So when I started my corporate
Do you
work,
also think you draw things to you?
I think
Because
when you're positive, you do.
yes, and also when you have that clarity of intent that you're ready for something,
Yes.
you're ready to do
I mean,
that.
I didn't train in
Yeah,
recipe development or
yeah,
menu development, but I just got them.
yeah,
I got a very good opportunity in Delhi with Old World Hospitality, who did the Habitat Center. So I was with them. These were long projects.
yeah.
So I did menu development for them for their new Habitat Center. I'm still in touch with all the people I was working with.
Karen, some people believe that they never get opportunities. What would you say to them?
Well, as I said, I think, it is luck. So I think you have to be very focused about what you want. I think people who are not focused will not achieve it. And also positive energy. If you're the type of person that sees the glass half full, not half empty, I think you attract people towards you. And you have to be out there. You have to. I mean, I live in Pune, and my work is not here. I mean, we have a factory here with our products, and we have an office here, but I really work in other places, so I have to network. Um, I don't network a lot, but I have to. I have to do it occasionally because that's part of what you do. You
And
can't
which
sit.
means you create your
Of
opportunities.
course.
It's not as if they're just laid out and you just get
No,
anything.
you the first one or two, as I told you, in terms of consultancies came, then people hear about you. I did, I did a fantastic project in London called Dishum. They came to me and said, the young men said, we've heard about you, and they sort of grilled me for 2 hours on what they felt they needed. And then they hired me to do the pre opening and to do the concept. And, it was all a bit vague, but they liked me, I liked them. But you have to be available, you have to
Yeah,
be out there.
yeah,
I remember I was in Pune, they said, we're in Bombay, we're sitting in Juhu, can you come? I had to go the next
yeah,
day.
yeah.
You have to push
You
the
have to
boat.
hustle, and
Yeah,
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 it's
yeah,
always part of the
absolutely.
thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So, of course, when you do good work, then you get
yeah,
more.
yeah.
And a lot of work is referral, and you have to take risks. So, a lot of things I've done, professionally have been risky.
Yes.
Even my marriage, if you look at it, my
Yeah.
first marriage was risky. I came back to India,
Yeah.
although I was Indian,
Yeah.
but I
You
hadn't
just,
been here
yeah.
since I was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I met him and I married
Yeah.
him. So you have to take certain risks. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
So professionally and personally, yeah.
Yeah. So, Karen, once your first marriage fell apart, how was that phase and how did you sort of move beyond
Well,
that?
two things. One was it's easier to look back now, of course, in hindsight. Um, he was from a very different milieu. Of course, you fall in love when you're young. I was 23, you know.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was a lot older. He was 20 years older. So
Oh.
I always say that a man in his early
But you know, when
40s,
you talk about risk, I feel you've been a risk taker all
yeah,
the
yeah,
time.
of course.
Because at 20, to have the confidence, or early 20s, to even consider marrying somebody 20 years older would take a lot. It would, I
Yeah,
would say
yeah.
it
He
would
was a
take
very
a lot
charming
of inner
man, and
confidence
yes, I think
to
so.
fight for
I
it
go with
because
as I say to people, I say yes too often.
uh,
I should
yeah.
learn to say no. Um,
But I
yes, he
think,
was 20
life
years.
rewards those who are risk takers in so many ways.
Maybe. I think so.
Because life is an experience at the end of it.
Yes,
It's not about eternity or perfection, but it's just a journey.
yes.
And you have to go with the flow of what is right at that point.
Right. So anyway, we together for 11 years. I have two lovely children. Um, I have absolutely no regret. Um, things were falling apart a little bit
Mm.
in terms of, I think in a marriage you have to be together. I
Yeah.
don't think ungeographical marriages work.
Yeah.
I think if you're in different places, they don't work.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing that
Yes,
provides a lot of challenges
yes.
because
And he was
there
in
are
Bombay. I was
couples who
here. He was
have to,
traveling a lot,
yeah.
and then he also apart from all of that, and then he dropped dead of a heart attack. So
Oh,
yeah, he died. So
was that
that was
after you separated from
yes,
him? Or
yes, and I don't whatever.
yeah,
And that was the shock. It wasn't actually just the separation. The separation, we were finding our way. No separation or divorce is easy.
yeah,
I don't think it
yeah,
is. But I think his death was
yeah, yeah.
a huge problem and a huge um, what should I say? That's when problems started with his family and so on. I had two young children.
Yeah.
That I think I don't wish that upon anybody, but I think one personal jhatka you have to have,
Yeah, one setback of
and one
one.
setback professionally, and then you wake up. I didn't know what lawyers were. I didn't know. I was a little
Oh my
girl
God, so you had
in
to
lots of
get
ways.
into all
Oh, it was
that.
horrible. It was
Oh
just
my God.
horrible. My locks of my house were changed. Locks of the office were changed. All sorts of things happened. Very. I dealt with people whose motivation was clearly greed, and that was. I grew up. I
Which
really grew up.
so you had to get really tough
Yeah.
because otherwise you would have been
I was
swallowed.
very lucky,
Yeah.
Chandana. I had fantastic friends who became lawyers. I mean, who were lawyers, but
Yeah, and
I
don't
had
you
a
make
lot of
friends
support.
along the way?
Yeah.
Because I think that there's something so raw and primal about very, very challenging times that
Yes.
you become so present and then you sort of draw that in others. And
And it's
so,
not that there weren't times when I thought, oh my God, how long is this going to go on for?
yeah.
It wasn't like, I used to sit on the floor. I was tiny and thin. I used to sit on the floor and think, oh God, when are they going to finish with all this nonsense? They kept throwing things at me that were
Oh
just,
my
it was
God.
horrible. It was just a horrible period of my life. I had huge support. I met somebody else by then who is now my husband. Huge support from him. He used to sort of help me with the children, from friends, from my parents, who couldn't believe this was happening,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
these people were behaving, falsifying wills, all sorts of
Oh my God.
melodrama that was like a
It's like,
Bollywood
it's
movie.
like a mental
It was a Bollywood
torture.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible. So it was about, it didn't last that long, luckily, but it was about a year and a half of this nonsense, maybe a bit longer.
So how did you feel, once you came on the other side?
I didn't really have time to feel anything. I just went back into work. And luckily, my work kept me going.
Yeah.
And what they didn't realize is that, you know, my husband was an important and quite well known person. They weren't. And I had by then got a lot of
Yeah.
interesting and supportive friends. And I didn't work in Bombay so much then. I was working in Delhi and Bangalore and so on. So I didn't really have to meet any people from
His
um,
side. Yeah.
his side or meet any of the old friends or the Bollywood thing.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
so what people thought or what they heard didn't
Yeah.
really
Didn't
bother
really
me.
bother.
You know, maybe it was correct, maybe it wasn't, but it didn't bother me. And I carried on. That was a time when I got a lot of very interesting work. So that was when TV was happening. All of this was happening at the same time. TV was happening. My consultancies were
Is this
happening.
also when your travel show happened?
That's well, good. The Good Food Guide was a travel show. It was a food and travel show. And then we were talking about travel earlier. And then much later, actually, now, about maybe 7 years ago, I I got into travel as a little side thing to do, passion project. And I did it with a friend who was introduced to me by another common friend who had taken groups of people abroad as an extension of her sort of school buddies. And I did a few trips with her. She wanted somebody who could curate an interesting itinerary. So I thought of places where I had connect. So I started places like Uzbekistan. I was invited by the ambassador to India. I went there
That's so
with a
interesting.
girlfriend. I thought it was an interesting place to, it's not very far from India. You can do a 5 day trip, you can do a week trip.
Yeah, you were saying it's
Um,
just a 2.5
it's a
hour
two and a half
flight.
hour flight from Delhi, and it's not somewhere that's easy to do on your own. It's not like Europe. Well, lots of places are not easy on your own, but we did a few trips there. I did Italy because I have a connect there. I did France because I have a connect there. I did the British countryside because I didn't have so much connect, but I kind of
Yeah.
had a better idea. The country, it's amazing, Chandana, how many Indians go to Britain, but they don't know the countryside because the countryside you need a car.
Yes.
It's not necessarily connected by railway. So you need a car, and not everybody wants to drive when they're
Yeah. Yeah.
abroad. So that was very popular. Uzbekistan continues. So I don't brand it or anything like
And
this.
what exactly do you do on that trip?
Well, we do. Of course, the food is a given,
Yeah.
but I do. It depends on the place.
A
Now,
lot
for
of
example,
sightseeing and
we do the sightseeing because people expect
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But for example, in Uzbekistan, I'm very interested in textiles.
Yeah.
So I've found interesting textile designers, interesting designers who do beautiful things with their silk ikats, with their Suzanis. So I found that as I've developed it. So we do that, which is different. For example, I tried to do a cookery class. It didn't work because they're just not that sophisticated. They kind of don't get it. So I did more of the textiles and the textile, and then we do one great dinner where we look at different dishes of the region, and I pair them with wines of the region. So people don't know there's quite interesting wines
Yeah.
in Uzbekistan. We do vodka dinners because the vodkas in Uzbekistan are world class. They're fantastic. So I find whatever is good and whatever is not known, maybe. The Russians, for example, taught the Uzbekis how to make, vodka.
Oh,
So their vodka, yeah, because it was a Russian colony of sorts.
yeah. Yeah.
So their vodka is second to none and very cheap. So I find these things out in Italy. I know the Ferragamo family, so we do one evening with Salvatore Ferragamo.
Wow.
So I try and bring in
Your own
things which,
unique
yeah,
touches and
otherwise
yeah.
you can go
Yeah.
through any agent.
Yeah.
And also, I think for my audience now is global. It's not just from India.
Yeah.
And I think with a global audience, you have to bring different things in.
Yeah.
But I think hotels are very important. These are not, um, I'm not looking at saving money on hotels. I realize, especially with Indians, a lot of the people I get want to kind of treat themselves when they go abroad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like Americans or Europeans, who are happy getting down and grungy a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
mind
Yeah.
something which is a bit authentic,
Uh-huh.
but maybe n- in the center of a town.
Yeah.
But I find with Indians generally,
Yeah.
they want a certain level of where they stay because it's a treat to go abroad.
Yeah.
It's not like Europeans who would
Absolutely.
well, in
Yeah,
Europe
yeah,
anyway. So they want, being a treat, you want a five-star hotel or at least a top-end four-star with maybe a pool and a gym because you want to continue that,
yeah,
nice restaurant. So I think, especially for women, we like to treat ourselves.
yeah,
So I bring in a slightly maybe better level of hotel. I'm doing Morocco in October. So there we stay at La Mamounia, which is one of the best hotels, in the world.
wow.
Um, because I feel at least one of the hotels should be wow. When you come, you should be wow. I don't want people to be, not that a four-star isn't, but I want, we can do that later, but I want them to be wowed when they arrive and I want them to be wowed when they leave. So we're doing the last dinner at Rick's Cafe, which is a duplicate and of the film Casablanca.
Wow.
But there is no Rick's Cafe, you know that. So Casablanca was shot at Burbank Studios in America. It was never shot in Casablanca
Oh,
at all. It was a story.
that's
Yes, so
interesting.
some interesting and clever person has built somewhere called Rick's Cafe that looks just like the movie, and I thought that's a great way to
Yeah,
end,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we end at Casablanca.
So you really add your unique touches
Yes,
to everything.
yes. So otherwise, it is. That's why I said it's a bespoke. It's curated. That's the difference. The other thing, Chandana, when you go on holiday, you'll find as much as you try and kind of plan things, you'll get at least one or two dud restaurants
Yeah,
where maybe now it says on Google it's great, but you get there and it's not
yeah,
so great.
yeah,
You'll get one or two dud experiences. It's raining, you don't know where to go, you can't find a taxi. Now, what I provide is foolproof. So, you know, you will always have your transport organized. I mean, yes, it might rain one day, but you generally it doesn't because I choose the weather quite carefully. Although with global warming now, you never know.
yeah, yeah.
But you won't have a bad experience because I've done a recce
So,
already.
I mean, it's amazing. I think that you bring so much of attention to detail
Yeah,
in
I do.
everything that you take
Even
on.
my welcome bags, I make special welcome bags with fabric of the area. I get them made beautifully. I do luggage tags in the same textile or in the same design. So yeah, a lot of things are
Yeah.
thought
So you're
about.
offering like a complete experience
Yes,
of sort.
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm enjoying that. That's a little
Yeah.
pet project that I'm
Yeah.
enjoying. Don't do too much of it. I don't want to make it into a big business
Uh,
because then it becomes about making money out
But
of
I
it.
think it's so interesting that, when you share all of this, a lot of women get inspired because each one starts to think that in my environment, what is it that I can do? Are there different ways in which I can come up with creative
A
ideas?
lot of women come up to me and say, I make a great achar. Should I go into business?
Yeah.
And most of the time I say no, because have you got an accountant? Have you
Yeah.
got support? I have
Yeah.
huge support.
Yeah.
And I have two children now who are in their 30s, two boys in their 30s. And right now we're looking at, these are my new, this is our
Yeah.
products.
Yeah.
So,
So,
we have these products which we've been doing for many years. We're now going into retail,
uh-huh.
and these are the little gift boxes for Diwali and for weddings and so on.
Yeah.
We do a big one. That one is just a done one, just for you to see.
Yeah.
This we do, and we do a smaller one.
Yeah.
So this is for the season. I've been wanting to do those for a while, and I have the time now.
Uh-huh.
But one of my sons is in social media. He has his own company, so his staff, and he helps me with marketing. The other one is great. He's going to take us online. I mean, the support I have is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah. But
Without
you
without being
have
a big
you have
industrialist
built it
or
up over the years.
I have,
So,
but the support is very important. Now,
yes.
a woman, and let's look at the Indian
Yeah.
context,
Yeah.
which is very real. You have fathers-in-law, you have husbands, you have brothers and
Yeah.
sisters, and
Yeah.
all of that. If you don't have their support, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Because if you have children, for example, or you have a mother in the house or a mother-in-law that has to be looked after, who's going to do that? Now, these are roles which are dictated to us. I'm not saying the woman has to do it, but somebody
Yeah.
has to do
Yeah.
it. And oddly enough, people ask this question: why are there not enough women in the
Uh-huh.
hospitality industry? And I say it's just this: it's not that there's no talent; is that the hospitality industry is very long hours. And oddly enough, like the head of the corporate chef of ITC right now is a woman. Uh, the corporate chef of Taj used to be a woman. Um, but the problem is that you know,
It's challenging.
it's challenging. The hours are challenging. Getting home in the middle of the night. So the ones who have achieved something are the ones who are much better than any of their
Right.
male
Right.
counterparts. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. But there are other things which are important. And if you're willing to give those up, no problem, go ahead. Look at the amount of young women entrepreneurs
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Look at the amount of women in finance. I mean, all the banks are
Yeah.
headed by women, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And those are women obviously who have support from
Mm.
their husbands or their families. Finance also is long hours. You know,
Yeah.
you pick up the
No,
phone
I mean, I
when
think that
Japan is open
the
or
minute a woman decides to step out,
mm,
she has to arrange for
yeah.
how her home and her commitments,
Yes.
otherwise,
I mean,
how they're
Indira Nooyi has
managed.
talked
Yeah.
about Pepsi and
Yeah.
how she
Yeah.
used to have calls with her, a parent-teacher meeting,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I think you
Yeah.
have to have support,
Yeah.
whether it's friends, family, whatever. And if you don't have that, you have to think twice. You know. So look, these women who come to me with achars or this or that, I say it's a great idea, but if you're not interested in getting that back up, I have a friend in the UK. It's everywhere. This is not just Indian.
Yeah.
I have a friend in the UK who's my age who started making and selling jewelry,
Mm.
semi-precious jewelry about 5, 6 years ago. And she did work for De Beers many years ago. But she says to me now, I said, you can get a concession in a big store like Selfridges and she says, well, do I want to do that?
Yeah.
Um, you know, maybe not. Her children are big now, she has
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But do you want to get into that whole thing that you need an accountant, you need
Yeah.
salespeople? At in your 60s, do you want to
Yeah.
start that? She
Yeah.
said, I'm happy as I am. I sell from home,
Yeah.
I sell from these
Yeah.
few fairs I go to. And I think it's very important
To
not to
think
be
it
on,
out. Yeah.
to think it out. And success is not measured by how much money you make.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So success is really about where you are in your life. And if you are doing as much as you can
Yeah.
within the circle that you create, I think you're fine.
Yeah. No, otherwise it can be very disturbing.
Well,
When you
ambition,
start to
ambition can get
chase,
the better
yeah,
of you. My career took off when I was in my early 30s.
yeah,
That's the time.
yeah,
Although, people say to me, is there one thing you regret? And I said, sometimes I regret not having a financial background. Neither my husband now or myself have.
yeah,
We're both entrepreneurs, we're both ideas people, we both execute,
yeah.
but we're not financial. It would have been nice to have somebody with us
But
who
yeah,
had
yeah,
a bit of
a solid
financial.
business kind of
Yes,
outlook
yes, which we're
and
getting now.
expertise.
My
Yeah,
children, I mean, the kids now are much better
yeah,
at all
yeah,
of that than we
yeah,
were.
yeah. Karen, can you elaborate a little bit on the importance of ingredients? What do you look for when you pick your ingredients?
Well, the first thing is I look for what they call now provenance. So I look for quality. I go to any lengths. I mean, in India, I get my fish from someone. I get certain meats from Bangalore. I get things from West Bengal. So I'm doing that all the time. One of my bags when I travel abroad is always food or wine. So to me, that's part of my life. As I think was saying, if you are in, say, textiles, I have a cousin in textiles. She's brilliant. She spends huge amounts of money on a sari that's woven by a particular weaver, and I'm like, really, is it, worth spending 2, 3 lakhs? But she wants to also, it's not about the textile, it's about supporting that weaver. I'm like that with food. So it's important to me to support the man who's supplying me dali chili from Sikkim. Somebody else is supplying me habanero from somewhere else. So it's important to me to support that and also to have the genuine ingredient. Authenticity is very important and quality.
And freshness?
Of course,
Yeah,
but when it's a fresh ingredient, when it's not, for example, if I go, we were in the UK for a wedding recently, and I go to the best butcher in Brighton where I live, and um, on a daily basis, and well, my sister now is vegetarian, but on a daily basis, even friends of mine don't go to this butcher because he's so expensive.
yeah.
But I'm going once a year or twice a year. So I definitely buy my meat from him. I don't buy cheaper meat because I want the best cuts that are available and he has it. If I'm eating a Hereford steak, I want that beef to come from Hereford, not from, some
Yeah,
supermarket.
substitute. Yeah.
So for me, food is very important. And I think more and more it's important for the provenance. It's important to know who's done it, and also health. I think it's important to know when in this sort of age of QSRs, of quick service, of easy food, of ordering food. I think it's more and more important to know where that comes from.
Also, you started the farmers market, right,
Yes,
in Pune here.
yes.
So, what's that experience
Well,
like?
it was a farmer's market initially. Then people said, no, it's not actually a farmer's market. I said, it's true. I'm not organic. So we started calling it the Markets by Karen Anand. And basically, our underlying thing was it had to be natural. So we never kept anything processed. And then it grew really big. I mean, again, it started with 5 or 10 stalls of people I knew. I said, let's get the Mahabaleshwar farmers to do certain things. We had, yeah, about 10, 15 stalls. There were some people I'd been working with who were doing things in other parts of the country. Then we did products, so people, a lot of bakers. It was a great opportunity for people to show and see if there was a market. So it wasn't just food. Then we had wines from Nasik. Then we made it bigger. We had wines from anywhere in the country. And then somebody came with cookware and so on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was mainly local. By local, I meant India. Um, it was so popular. We used to have it at the Western Grounds. It was so popular from 10 and 15 stalls, it became 100. It
Whoa.
became a big deal.
Yeah.
Then my son joined me because he did hotel management, came from abroad, and he said, let's put in music in the evenings and let's do other
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
it became an event. Um, we grew very quickly. The people offered me opportunities to do it in Calcutta. We were doing it in 7 cities at one point, and it went a bit crazy. It was too much
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
and then licensing became an issue and all of that.
Mm.
Then we stopped, obviously, but it was a movement. And my son says he gets calls every day from people
Yeah.
say, why,
Yeah.
why aren't you doing it? Because nobody's doing anything like it.
Yeah.
It's not a flea market. During COVID, of course, we stopped.
Mm.
And then we found after COVID, things have changed. Licensing now is very expensive. Um, we used to charge people 10,000 and 15,000 for, a space that's nothing really.
Mm.
And it enabled people who were starting out to see if their product worked.
Right.
Now we'd have to charge them 3 or 4 times that
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
doesn't work
So
otherwise.
it's not really viable
No,
at this.
it's not viable now. He does something. He's got a little partnership with 2 people, and they do a thing called the Pune Cartel. They do events at the Turf Club and Pune Club. They're 3 or 4 times a year. They don't do outside Pune, and they do. He curates, and his team curates the food and beverage because he's done it with us. And so what we used to do was also restaurants, and a lot of restaurants got popularity, or they try a new dish, and this would, the farmers markets would give them an idea of whether that dish would work. So in his thing, he also curates food and beverage. Um, but they do a little bit of a flea market. They don't have the same food market that we did.
Karen, do you have any daily rituals or routines? Something that you'd
I
like to
wish I was
share?
so disciplined. So I've started this no grain thing, as I was telling you. That's tough enough, and that's difficult to do on a daily basis if I'm traveling.
Yeah.
In my home, or if I'm going to a restaurant, it's
Was
easier.
it hard to give up grains?
No, because I'm not a big grain person anyway.
So
That
no
wasn't hard.
rice as well, wheat for sure, but or
Rice
is rice
occasionally,
allowed?
about once a week. Not really, but I do
Yeah.
have a little bit, but a little bit. And I eat out of a bowl, so I
So
put
it's very measured,
it's
limited
measured. So
quantities.
I'm doing that for health as well as weight.
And you've set up a huge goal, like
One year.
you've 1 year.
Yeah,
And
because
and how
otherwise
much
it
and
won't.
how much do you want to lose?
20 kilos.
20 kilos, that's a lot.
Yeah, I've lost 3 or 4 already, and you can't see it, but I can feel it because everything's now fits
Yeah.
me, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think you sense it right away.
Yeah.
Even those 3, 4 kilos too,
You
immediately
feel it in
starting,
me,
you
you
feel
can
it.
put your
There's a
buttons on.
lightness also.
Yeah, you can put the buttons of your trousers on. You
Yeah.
can, not
Yeah.
things don't feel tight. But it's long term because of age. When I was younger, I used to do this all the time.
Mm.
When I was shooting, I used to put on weight, lost the 5 kilos. But
Yeah.
so it was easy. But I never used to eat dinner. when I was much younger. I never did. I cooked, but I didn't eat.
Huh.
And I think that it was sort of the
So are
original
you kind of
intermittent.
doing that? Yeah, that's what I would say. That
Yeah,
it's what exactly today is,
it's
is being
intermittent. In
recommended. It's
those days,
completely
yeah, in those
intermittent.
days we used to call it fit for life or whatever. But it worked. And I think you have to do some discipline when
Yeah,
your life
yeah,
otherwise is not so disciplined.
yeah.
So that it's like,
Are there
as a
any other
woman,
disciplines too that you follow?
not
Because
really. It's like cleaning your face at night or washing your face or brushing your teeth.
yeah,
That's something you have to do. You just have
yeah,
to push
yeah,
yourself and
yeah.
do it.
Do you do any
Um,
of these things like yoga, meditation,
no,
or
not so much. I mean, I did yoga for many years, more for exercise than meditation. I have a beautiful big garden and I do walk in my garden every day. It's not exercise, it's just to look at the
yeah,
plants
yeah.
and
But I
clear
think
air.
that too is quite a healing
Yeah,
sort of
and we've
thing.
always had, this is the first time we've lost our dog recently, but we've
Sorry
always
to
had
hear that.
dogs, and that was also quite meditative for me,
Yeah,
just taking
yeah,
her for a walk every day.
yes, yes,
I don't know if my husband says we can't do another one. We've had dogs for 35 years.
yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to do it again, but that was quite
You
meditative.
might though.
We might. We just want to get over this one because she
Yeah.
wasn't due to go, I think.
Uh,
But yeah, it's more personal things than, yes, I go and I do this and I do that. Yeah, I don't have so many. My life is much more regular now, but it never used to be. I used to travel at least twice a month. And, like eating, you were saying grains, what do you eat in an airport? It's shocking.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
nothing to
There's
eat.
nothing, and then anything which comes out of a packet, that's going to kill the purpose of what
Yeah.
you're trying to
So
achieve.
I find the airport difficult. I find
Mm.
an airline
Yeah.
difficult. Not
Travel
an
is,
international airline
yeah,
because you
yeah,
can say gluten free.
yeah,
But I find traveling is a problem.
yeah,
Or you go to somewhere and you get a thali and there's puris on and then you don't eat and people get offended and
yeah,
so I do break it about once a week. I do have a little bit of carb once a week, but
yeah.
usually
And I
rice because
think that
I prefer
it's
rice.
really not sustainable to completely like just eliminate a food
If
group.
you're going nowhere, it's fine. But if you're traveling or if you don't want to offend people, you have to leave off a little bit. Like yesterday, I felt like an egg on toast. I hadn't had it for a long time. I was hungry, and I let myself have it.
Yeah.
It's good bread. I use sourdough only. So yeah, I think once a week, a little bit of something. This is the French paradox, is okay.
So Karen, you feed people the best. What do you enjoy?
I enjoy the best, of course. I love Japanese food, and Japanese food is,
Is Japanese food one of your
oh, it's
favorite
my favorite.
cuisines?
Favorite. I love it. I could
I
eat
don't know
Japanese
much
food
about
every day.
Japanese. Is suziyaki?
Sushi and sukiyaki and
Sukiyaki, yeah.
yeah.
That's the only
I
thing
love
I knew.
sushi. I like raw.
Yeah,
I can eat raw
sushi, of
food.
course.
I can eat raw food every day. If I
Do you
if
think raw food is healthier than cooked
Of
food?
course.
There's always this
Of
debate
course.
going on.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of
If you can
nutritionists say
digest
that
it.
if you can
Not
digest it.
everyone can. It's like,
Yeah,
for example, people say pulses are good for you,
yeah,
chana and
yeah.
rajma. I
Sprouts.
can't
Yeah,
digest it too much. I find it difficult to
yeah,
digest, so
yeah.
I keep it to a minimum. And if I have a
So in
bowl of
such a
chana,
case, do you recommend just steaming
yes,
pulses
if you
and
can't
whatever?
eat
Yeah,
it, yeah,
if you sprouts.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
I even steam sprouts. I
yeah,
don't eat them raw,
yeah,
but I like the idea of raw food and raw fish and so on. Not raw meat. I
yeah,
don't eat too
yeah,
much meat anyway.
yeah.
But I like the simplicity of Japanese, and I like the fact if you want to zip it up, you can put on your wasabi or put on some soy. And I like the quality. Japan is a very healthy nation.
Yes.
I believe even the
It's very
teachers,
unique in
well, the
its
teachers are even trained in nutrition in school. And
yeah.
that's why,
I saw some incredible videos of these schools and I was
and
blown
what they
away.
eat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the way they
And the
eat,
children are
what they eat, yeah.
eating
Very
vegetables,
healthy,
eating meat,
very healthy.
eating, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think I haven't been to Japan, but I think that is something
Yeah.
I love my Indian food because I love spice.
Hmm.
Um, and I have a chili garlic crisp which we make under this range. And I eat it almost every day on something. So I do like spice. And if I'm abroad after about a week, I don't hanker after Indian food, but I hanker after spice.
Yeah,
So even if I have a
yeah.
Thai
You
curry or
throw
something,
in some in.
or a
Yeah.
tom yum soup or something like that, I'm fine. I travel with my little miso soups or little tom yum packets and thing, and it's fine. It works very well.
They
But
say, that people are either into cooking or baking. Do you think
I'm
that
not a
there is
baker.
this
Oh, yes.
separation?
I'll tell you why. Because people who are into cooking are creative. You want to add your own thing.
Yeah.
Baking is like a chemical. It's
Yeah.
like
It's just like a
chemistry.
formulaic
You
thing.
have to
You just
follow
have to
it.
follow that
That's why a
in.
lot of men, a lot of German men, are into baking because they're very,
Yeah.
logical.
Yeah.
And you follow you can't go here and there.
You don't
Um,
get creative. Just
absolutely,
follow it by the
absolutely
book.
follow the recipe. And that's what you have to do when you bake.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it depends on what kind of temperament you are.
And in Indian food, what's your favorite?
Oh, I like my ghar ka khana. I don't like restaurant food in Indian so much.
Mm.
I'm not a great one for this other than Lucknowi. And I think whenever I'm traveling, masala mem sab is all about Indian food. And when I traveled, there's so much in Maharashtra. I love my vegetarian Maharashtrian food more than the non-veg, actually. I love, the Puneri Brahmin simplicity of that kind of
Yeah.
the vegetables with very little, except a chonk on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certain things in Gujarati. I'm not a big one for North Indian food,
Mm.
personally.
Which is contrary to popular.
Well, it's because
Pe-
I'm sorry, but Punjabis are industrious. They went around the world and opened
yeah. Yeah.
restaurants.
I think it's the like right now. I'm surprised that in the United States, suddenly chaat has become a thing.
Has it?
It has. I mean, in Costco, which is, I don't know if you've heard of that, it's like
Have a
the
chaat
wholesale
bar.
place. I mean, I one day walked in and I saw stacks full of pani puri boxes.
Wow.
And I was shocked beyond belief that it was like a mountain
Yeah.
and they just had boxes.
Yeah.
And I think in 3 days, it
Finished.
had come right
But you see,
down.
the
And
Gujaratis
I was
Gujaratis love their
shocked.
own food,
Mm,
and they're vegetarian. And so when they go abroad, I mean, I've been with women from Calcutta. They said the theplas come out, the chaat,
yeah.
that namkeen comes out
Yes. Yes.
because people miss that.
Yeah.
Non-vegetarians, I find less. They
Yeah.
don't miss it so much.
Yeah.
They'll have a
They have other
kebab. They
options.
have other
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
They'll have a
Yeah.
Afghani kebab or a
Yeah.
Lebanese kebab
Yeah.
or something, put some mirchi on it.
Mm,
But for vegetarians, there's less
mm,
choice
mm,
abroad,
mm.
and therefore they hanker after their own food.
Also, Karen, as we come to draw towards the end, what do you do to chill or relax? For you, what are the things you do
I'm a
to
tourist, so
unwind?
I like my home. My home has to be a certain level of what I call luxury. Luxury is different things for different people,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So for me, luxury is space.
Mhm.
I love space. I don't like cramped spaces.
Mm.
Um, my dog used to be there. I like things around which
You
are,
like to watch movies,
yeah,
theater?
sure.
Yeah.
In India, less theater, of course,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm a great Netflix slut at the
Yes. Yes.
weekend. I do cook, and I
Do you
do
socialize a lot too?
no, not in Pune. I do when I go because I have friends throughout the world,
Mm.
so I feel I meet my friends
Yeah.
wherever I can. I meet a few friends in Pune, of course, but I don't socialize like I used to when I was younger. We used to do big parties in the garden and that sort of thing. We've stopped doing that completely. I enjoy having the kids over at weekends because they're both on their own.
Hmm.
And there's six of us now in this little family, so it's quite nice to have the girls over as well. I enjoy discipline we were talking about. I started trying to exercise on a regular basis. I find that difficult. It's raining and you think, oh no, I won't go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I
I
think especially as you get older, it becomes essential
absolutely.
because
So
otherwise you
gym I
just feel the
definitely do
stiffness.
two or
Yeah.
three times a week, and
Yeah.
I have a trainer who's brilliant, and I have, you know what they say, the best gym is the one that's the nearest to you.
Yes.
So we have
It
one
gets done.
in
Yeah.
the colony where I live. Otherwise, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
terribly indisciplined
Hmm.
about
Yeah.
exercise, so I have to push myself. When I'm abroad, I walk a lot. So
Yes.
we hired
There's a huge walking culture.
there's a
I
huge
mean,
walking culture.
especially
I
in
don't mind
Europe.
getting up
Yeah.
and doing it.
Yeah.
Here, less so. You don't want to walk up and down in your
Yeah.
gated community, or
Yeah.
where do you walk on the streets?
Yeah.
This is a whole American thing as well,
Yeah.
which is where do I walk on the streets? It's
Yeah.
filthy, or there's
Yeah.
too many
Pollution,
people, or
people, there's
pollution.
enough reasons.
Yeah.
The roads are so bad. I mean, I feel you could the roads being so bad is the main deterrent. If the roads were good,
And I don't like the idea of going somewhere, getting in a car, and then,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's a bit
Although I've done
institutional.
that, yeah, because
But you have to
sometimes
do
you
it.
have to if you just
Absolutely.
have to walk.
So no, I'm not the greatest disciplined person for various things, but of course I like to chill. I like to read a good book, which I haven't done for a few
For
weeks, which I plan to do this weekend.
I actually got a huge stack of books when I was in London this time. I
Ah,
found some really interesting ones.
right. And
So,
I continue to write. So
yes.
I write on
So,
food.
do you write on a day, on a regular
No,
basis?
I write for Condé Nast on food. I've started writing for Travel and Leisure again on destinations. So I have certain
Do
people
you
I
write
write for.
just for yourself ever?
No, what I do is I tend to go to a destination and then I call up my friend who's the editor and say, listen, I found this great hotel. Do you want a piece? So, okay. We
Ah,
went to Bath in June when my husband hadn't been, and it was a Jane Austen centenary. So there's lots of, and I'm a great fan of Jane Austen. There were lots of Jane Austen
yeah.
things. And I rang a friend of mine when I was back about something else. She's the editor of the Hindu
Uh-huh.
in Chennai. And she said, I'm back on the travel page
Mm.
and we're doing a special on Jane Austen's 250 years. Would you like to do a piece of? A lot of people now want kind of special pieces from me
Yeah.
of what my take is on,
Right.
because there's so much available
Correct.
on the
Correct.
net.
Yeah. That you need to have
They
someone's
want
own
Correct.
perspective.
They want an endorsement of
Mm-hmm.
such. And I
Mm-hmm.
have no lena dena that way. I don't
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
on somebody else's account. I go on mine.
Yeah.
So they're very excited that
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be an objective piece.
Yeah.
So I did a piece on my Bath and what I would enjoy as a fan of Jane Austen in
Awesome.
Bath,
Yeah.
which was fun.
Yeah.
Um, and if I want to give credit to a restaurant I went to or a hotel, that's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
my thing, whether
Yeah.
I do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there are two, as I say, Condé Nast, Travel and Leisure, a little bit, Hindu a little bit. So I write for these three or four periodical, these magazines, and I've been writing for them. That's why I know the editors and so on
Yeah.
for a long time. I never stopped writing. So I've been writing continuously, either through either books or articles since I was maybe in my late 20s, something like that. It's a long time. So more than 35 years of writing. And I continue that because also, like, for example, yesterday I was thinking about a place I went to, which is the only castle hotel in Britain. It was actually a Tudor castle.
Oh,
And so the editor of Travel and Leisure rang me and she said, have you got anything new? Have you been? Because then if I write, then it's not like I either want a huge amount of money
yeah.
because it's not really very lucrative, but I love doing it.
Mm.
And she said, "Have you done anything?" I said, "I went to this castle hotel." She said, "Oh, what was that?" I said, I love this whole Tudor period. I did it at A level, and I love that whole Henry VIII and Tudor British period." Um, and she said, "So do I." And there's all these things on TV now. There's Elizabeth and this and Wolf
Yeah.
Hall, which is I want to reread this weekend. Hilary Mantel's book. There's a trilogy.
I
So
see.
I want to reread, hopefully all three, but and they had a fantastic TV series on Wolf Hall. It's this period. It's on Thomas Cromwell and Henry VIII and so on. So that is very much my
Okay.
background.
Uh-huh.
And so I said, yeah, I stayed at this castle that belonged to Edward Stafford. She said, oh, and she was very into Edward Stafford under Henry VIII. And I said, yes. Oh, can you write on it? So if you can do more the
Yeah.
historical thing
Yeah.
rather than just somebody who wants to go and experience, and also it's only 2 hours from London, it's on a train,
Yeah.
it's not difficult to
Yeah.
get to. Somebody who wants to experience Tudor England because they've seen Wolf Hall or they've seen Elizabeth
Yeah.
or so yes, historical dramas I love. And I think it also, when I'm writing an article, um, like yesterday when I was writing on Tudors or whatever, then I go and watch something from the Tudors. So I think this is, you have to keep learning, I think. And without this constant learning, you don't expand, your horizons. So I will always write. And I think writing is fantastic because I can do it till I drop dead. I don't, I think I'm working a lot less than I used to. I'm not doing any more consultancies. I only work for myself, my own brand, because it's a company now. I have to spend time with it. I'm certainly not doing any other consultancies because of the time
Yeah.
factor, really.
Yeah.
And I think as you get older, there's less you can do,
Yes.
and you have to be a bit more focused. But the historical dramas, the writing, transports me to different realms. And if I wasn't doing food, I may have even done that because I love the idea of researching for historical dramas, um, for the costumes. It would have brought my love of research and textiles together.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. So, Karen, as we conclude, you've had such a full, uh, vast, filled with experience, with all different types of experiences kind of life. Is there still something that you're still seeking, waiting, or is there some dream, some wish which you haven't gotten to as yet?
No, sometimes I wish I could travel more. Then I think, do I really want to? I'm actually very happy in my home looking at the garden. I think all of us as women want to travel.
Yeah.
We have this excitement. But in terms of personal development, no, I am where I want to be. In terms of professional development, also, I'm
You've
fine. I don't think I need to do
It was
anything.
so interesting you say that because I interviewed Shekhar Sen. I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but he is, like does a monologue kind of theater performer where he does these one man acts.
Mm.
So he's picked up all the saint figures of India like Surdas, Tulsidas, Kabir. And I mean, he's incredible. He does the entire music, he dances, he's on stage
Wow.
alone. He converts from Kabir into Kabir's mother, and
Wow.
then he'll take the dupatta, put the payal, and he'll become Kabir's wife. So, I mean, he's outstanding. And it was very interesting, when I asked him that, how do you think about aging and, about the inevitability at the end of life? And he said, I won't mind if I could drop dead tomorrow. And that really, I was like, what, really? So he said, yes. He said, because I've already, achieved, I know who I am. I know what I was meant to do. I have done what I was meant to do. And he said, now doing one more play or adding one more feather in my cap won't really add or subtract anything. He said,
I
who
agree.
I am,
Yeah,
I've kind of done that. And when you say
I
this,
agree.
I
Look, I've
feel
got this
that
little
way.
company that I want to take to a level.
Yeah,
Once I take that to the level I want to take it,
yeah,
it's already
yeah,
doing quite well.
yeah,
Then, yeah. I mean, but
yeah.
this is just a personal project.
Correct,
It's not a
correct.
travel. It's
It's
not.
like
It's not a.
you've already kind of, you know who you are. You fully squeeze the juice of who you are.
Yeah, I
So
think so.
now everything else will be more like the cherry on the cake
Yeah,
and that sort of thing.
absolutely.
And which is, I think, the signature hallmark of a really well-lived life.
Yeah,
So,
I'm happy where I am. I'm
yeah,
happy where I am. No regrets at all. Um, and I think it would be nice to do what I want to do, not goals, just things that I want to go. I want to go to
yeah,
South America.
yeah.
I want to go here. I want to do that. Why I want to learn the tango. I have a friend in the UK who is 98, and she started learning Spanish.
Amazing.
Why not? I
I
started
mean,
learning
as you say,
Italian.
my friend's father at 94
Mm,
started to practice handwriting, and
mm,
I was so amazed. I'd gone to his place and he said, look, I have to show you my
calligraphy.
handwriting. And, at an age where you would expect people's hand would shake and
Sure.
that there would be other kinds of
Right.
problems, to see him, he had this childlike quality and it was so beautiful, the pages of handwriting. And also, it was just so inspiring
Mm.
that it's all about, are you willing to engage with life in this kind of
And
a
also,
healthy, excited
the
way?
only thing that stops you is physical activities.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yes, if you want to go to Serengeti, you better do it now in the next five
Yes.
to
Yeah.
ten
Yeah.
years. That's
I mean,
that's the only
yeah,
thing.
exactly. Otherwise, I think that just having a childlike spirit and an excitement
Mm.
for life itself should be good enough to keep you going
Absolutely.
right till the end.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much,
It's
Karen,
been a
for a
pleasure. Thank
lovely
you.
conversation and for leading us through your whole culinary journey. It was incredible.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And creativity, as you say, is in everything.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.